the other areas where we've been having issues. And so we'll just continue that. Similarly, it's the ATVs and illegal guns. If you have tips or any insight into what exactly is happening, definitely give us a call. You can do anonymous tips to 50411. But we'll continue those investigations and kind of work on both sides of the issue there.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And just for the sake of time, we do have to move on. But thank you, Captain Herbernack. We really appreciate those updates. And we'll just give actually one last question on the Starburst. And then we'll give the mic over to Silas Grant from the Ward 5 Council Member's Office. From Desiree Williams, thank you 5D for all your hard work in the community. We have seen the increased presence and appreciate it. And the Starburst is looking great. However, many of the regulars are moving to loiter in front of vacant buildings and storefronts. Is there an action plan to engage those that have moved from the Starburst to other close by buildings?
Yeah, so displacement is always an issue when you kind of in law enforcement. So you displace, activity like that. So what we're going to do is continue to engage those people with our partners in DBH and those individuals that were kind of displaced maybe from Starburst Plaza that have up the street or around the corner, so that we're not just pushing the problem somewhere else, that we're affecting change for long term. So definitely it's a process as we kind of move from area to area. There is going to be some temporary displacement, but we'll work with DBH and like I said, with the other areas that are experiencing some of the, increased drug sales and stuff like that. We'll do it on the investigative side as well. We'll be investigating on the law enforcement side as well as the addiction support side.
And I believe we do have Commander Fitzgerald on the line. We are coming to the end of our time for MPD's updates. So if the commander is here and would like to make some brief remarks, I'm sure the community would appreciate hearing from you. And you can unmute yourself, Commander. You are a panelist.
Here we go. All right, I'm really bad with computers. That's obvious. So I'm unmuted now. I just think Captain Herbernack's doing a good job. I think the big point that I have to watch is Commander. I got to give him resources he can help. And we do have to worry about displacement. But I think it's real important when you talk about displacement for an area like Starburst Plaza, that becomes a magnet for people whose issues go far beyond, with a lot of mental health problems there, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. So it's real important. And Captain Herbernack's been doing a great job of bringing it, engaging the other city partners and getting them there. As I've advised you guys at prior meetings, we have community outreach officers doing functions there. But we also have homeless outreach officers, which kind of gives us a direct connect to DBH. But that's a long process. And a lot of people there have problems and they need help, and they need help from social services. So I think it's important we keep monitoring that. And for those of you that live on the fringes of the SCI, that is something that I really have to monitor, because we don't want to displace the violent crime. We don't want to displace any crime, but we're going to force some people out. So we're going to end up usually extending the size of the SCI to account for that. So I want you to be aware of that one. And thank you.
Sure. Thank you. We appreciate the update. And it's good news to hear that we're extending the area. Okay. All right. Thank you both, gentlemen. Now let's hear from the Ward 5 Council Member's Office. Silas Grant is here with an update.
Good evening, ANC 5D. Silas Grant, Senior Advisor in the Office of the Ward 5 Council Member. Just want to give a couple of brief updates. As you all know, the budget has been transmitted from the Mayor's office down to the council. And prior to the budget coming down, the council member laid out priorities that we share with you all as residents. And so I am happy to announce a number of items that landed in the budget that we consider to be victories for the Ward 5 community as a whole. As many of you all know, we have been fighting to ensure that recreation is able to come to Ivy City in the form of a new recreation center at the Cromell site. So there's a $20 million investment in that site for a public recreation use. And so I know that the folks in Ivy City are really excited about that, and we are happy that they are happy, and we want to make sure that we are providing those sorts of amenities across the ward where possible. Along those lines, we've also secured $24.5 million for a new library in the Eckington, Edgewood, and Stronghold area. And so we know that that's not in 5D, but an additional library in 5 whole will be able to provide all of us with that additional amenity that will benefit people of all ages. I know there was a lot of discussion about public safety, so I want to give a couple of public safety updates in terms of wins for Ward 5. The officer talked about the need for violence interruption expansion, and so there's an additional $8.85 million for violence interrupters, credible messengers throughout the city, and a portion of that will be in Ward 5. There's also an additional $4.5 million for the Pathways program, and that will be able to service an additional 100 individuals per year. It's also $5.7 million that will be diverted, that will be in an effort to divert 911 calls regarding mental health distress to the Department of Behavioral Health and their community response team, widely known as CRT. And also just wanted to note that there's $7.2 million added for youth safety initiatives, including the expansion of the Safe Passage program. And so there are a number of wins that we were able to have happen for Ward 5. And we're always here making sure that we are fighting to provide the resources that the folks need here in the ward. Again, thank you to the commissioners for all of your input and during this whole budget process. And we are hoping to continue to support all the requests that you all have. And if you all have any questions, I'll take them now.
Okay, and then just a reminder for everyone, if you'll please use the raise hand feature to raise your hand and ask a question, or the Q&A function if you have a question. And if you could, when you're typing in your question in the Q&A, you know, we've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of questions tonight. Please tell us who the question is directed to. So if you'll just put their name and then type your question. So I do see one hand raised. Bosco, if you could go ahead and give Ms. Diggs permission to talk.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Mayor Bowser. I just want to make sure if there are any questions about my budget, that those questions are directed to me.
Okay, definitely. So thank you for that note. So if we have any questions for Silas now, if you'll direct them to Silas. If you have any budget questions for the mayor, please direct them to the mayor as she has requested.
Is that Jason?
Okay.
No, that's Everett.
So, all right, and let's go ahead and get Ms. Diggs unmuted so that she can share her question.
Can you hear me? I've already unmuted.
Yes.
All right. So Silas, Grant, this question is for you. So after one of the multiple shootings we've had in my neighborhood a few months ago, yourself, Jonathan McNair, and the council member were kind enough to come over and visit, and we discussed speed bumps for my street. Has there been any further movement on that request?
So I know that there was a document that Chairwoman Moore was keeping updated with respect to all of the constituent requests in that area. I've not received an update just yet on the speed hump request, but we'll certainly circle back with any updates once we get them.
Okay, and then just a note, I do have a small update there, which is that, you know, we did receive some feedback from DDOT that they have a concern about putting speed bumps potentially too close to that alley opening. And so we are having a little bit of a back and forth exchange with them on the best way to move forward. But I do appreciate the question, and I will get back to you as soon as we have a firm answer. Okay, and then Bosco, I think we lost Mr. Russell. So Mr. Russell, if you'll raise your hand again, and then let's hear from you. Okay, and then you can unmute whenever you're ready. Okay, all right, I'm not hearing anything. So let's move to the Q&A box. I do see a question here. Hello, my question is about the situation in Ivy City linked to the apartment building, now sold, but continues to be contributing problem to both the violence and drug activity. What is being done to address this issue? And I think this question from Mr. Caccini is not for Mr. Grant. I think it's for our MPD representatives. So Commander Fitzgerald or Captain Herbernack, if you want to take that one.
I'll take it, but what building is he speaking of? There's several that we're working with the OAG's office on down there.
It may be the Kendall property.
Okay, well, we are working with the OAG to try to bring the owner up the code with that one. Actually, Kelly from your office has been very active with that group on that. I mean, they've had several meetings with Captain Muriel has attended, working with the OAG, getting services in there to clean it up and try to create that environment, makes it people feel free to hang around and loiter. And again, going back, Audrey Weatherington from the OAG's office does a great job of going out to these owners of these buildings, landlords, and holding them accountable. But Kelly has taken the lead in that from your office, Silas.
Yeah, just to add really quickly, we've been in contact with the new owner and we plan to have an in-person meeting with him and some members of agencies like OAG, DCRA, to be able to assist in bringing him up to speed on what's desired of him in terms of his ownership of the building. So we should have some updates on that between now and the next ANC meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you. So let's go ahead and move forward in our agenda. Thank you so much for the updates. We're going to try to stay as close to on time as we possibly can. So please forgive me if we didn't get to your questions. So next up on our agenda, Madam Mayor, we do have Mayor Bowser with us this evening, and she's going to give some remarks, and then we will open the floor to your questions for her.
Well, thank you so much, Commissioner, and it's great always to see you guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in person in the community as well. I know that there are a number of my directors who are on the call. I see Everett Lott and Ernest Chopra. Julia Irving, I know, is also on as well. Miranda, don't do that, honey. And so, Miranda, don't do that, honey. Okay, Miranda wants to say hi, and then we're going to proceed. Say hi, honey. Hi.
Well, I think we're also happy to say hi.
All right.
Hi, Miranda.
Okay. No, can mommy finish? No.
I think we're all doing a lot of that these days. So, she's welcome to join.
Well, thank you. So we will speak quickly, and I see Delano Hunter there as well, but you can't touch the computer, sweetie. Okay.
No, I want to say hi to this.
You want to say hi to? She wants to say hi to Tomas. Okay. So let me speak quickly, and I'm thrilled that the council member's office is encouraged by my budget proposal. I know Silas mentioned quite a few items that are in my budget. And it is indeed a transformative budget that focuses on how we bring our city back and how we do it equitably. It's a $17.5 billion budget. And we think of it in 3 phases: relief, recovery, and growth. And as has been noted,
Mom, come to the bathroom.
Okay, one second, Miranda. And so as has been noted, we've made significant investments in neighborhoods across all 8 wards of the District of Columbia, and certainly in Ward 5. The Crummell School and Recreation Center investment, we know, is an exciting one for the community. We're also excited by it. We still have some work to do on the project, as you know. We want to make sure that we not only focus on recreation, but we also.
Mom, I want to say hi to this.
Okay, one second.
And we'll give just a moment here. Just a reminder to folks while the mayor takes a moment to reorganize and reshuffle one of our tiniest constituents. Just a note for folks, if you have a question, please include the name of the person the question is for, as well as the question in the Q&A box rather than the chat, or you can use the raise your hand feature to ask that question as well. And I believe if you're joining us on the phone, the way that you can raise your hand is by pressing *3, and you'll be able to raise your hand and participate. And I think Tomas Talamonte, I hope I'm saying that right,
you did it
is prepared with a few remarks.
Yeah, Commissioner, I just wanted to, have also been joined by Director Harley Harper, who's our gun violence director, as well as Director McFadden. So I just wanted to call those directors to attention as well who have joined us.
Okay, so thank you,
much
Tomas.
appreciated.
Let me just highlight, and I'm gonna speak in bullets and then stop talking so you can answer, you can ask any questions that you have. But two other key points in this budget are a historic investment in affordable housing, over $400 million included in this budget, and a transformative investment in public safety and how we invest in building blocks and alternatives to policing, and invest in the police that we need. So it is over a $59 million investment we introduced in Ward 8 just yesterday, including a proposal for an $11 million in cash assistance for returning citizens, $5.6 million to create dedicated employment opportunities, $2.2 million for temporary safe housing, and over $800,000 to keep recreation centers open late at night. So everyone on this call knows how the budget process works. We spend months developing proposals given the revenue that we have. We present our balanced budget to the Council of the District of Columbia. They deliberate for 54 days and have public hearings out of each of their committees. And at the end of that process, they will create a balanced budget as well. So we look forward to any questions that you have and how we can work together to protect these very critical investments as they go through the legislative process.
All right, well, thank you so much. And I'll go ahead and open the floor. We do have a few questions. People were ready to go from the start of the meeting with some questions. So we have one question in the Q&A box from Elizabeth. What will your legacy be given DC's regression back to the crime levels of the 80s? What are you doing to address and combat the human trafficking, prostitution, crime against women, rampant drug abuse?
Whose question is that?
So this is from Elizabeth.
Well, Elizabeth is mistaken. I don't know if she lived here in the 80s, but I did. And that's not where we are. And what I just mentioned is our plan to make sure we never get there again, in identifying the people who are most likely to be involved in violence, either as perpetrators or victims, flood their neighborhoods and their families with resources, and help them get on the right path. And part of that includes employment. That's why this budget includes many subsidized employment opportunities that are allowing us to help more people who have barriers to employment, and they need a hand up from all of our programs.
All right. And then we have a question, next question in the Q&A, and I'm only doing one per person to start out. So I do see you have a few questions, Kevin, but I'm going to skip around. Thank you for making the tough decisions during the COVID pandemic. I believe you made the right ones. Question: what can us residents of 5D do to help your administration get the south entrance to the Arboretum reopened at M and Maryland Avenue Northeast? And I know that those sound like unrelated items, but I think a lot of us discovered that we really liked the Arboretum quite a lot during the pandemic.
Yes, I did as well. I hadn't actually, this is the very first time I heard that as an issue. So let me see what I can do about it. The south entrance.
Yes.
Okay.
And just for some additional background there, the National Capital Planning Commission has already approved the Arboretum's plan to reopen that entrance. I believe the overlap with the district government is that there's a small portion of a DC street that would need to be repaved in order to make that entrance, accessible. But it would just be a pedestrian and bike only.
Tell me the street exactly.
So it's Maryland and M Street.
And M. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So the very, very end of Maryland Avenue.
Okay. We'll look into that.
And this is the first I'm hearing about it, but I did
Okay.
jot the note down, Mayor.
Okay.
So thank you for that. So Kevin Horgan, I have a question for the mayor. It's long, so it'll take 2 parts. Okay, Kevin. I understand the proposed budget includes funding to help low, moderate income neighbors to build ADUs. Will the district require ADUs built using this program to become full-time rentals, or will they simply become Airbnb investment properties? Will there be an economic argument? While there is an economic argument for helping low and moderate income homeowners to participate in the short-term rental market, if the goal of the program is to actually increase housing supply in the district, then there need to be restrictions.
That is a good question. And I'm assuming that the short-term rental laws that are on the books would apply to the ADU as well. And I'm not recalling all the specifications of the zoning for ADUs, for matter of right ADUs now. Because my recollection is it requires it doesn't have to be a family member or an employee the way it used to be. I just don't remember the kind of the tenure of the tenancy. And so let us, Ernest, would you provide the commission, and perhaps you know that off the top?
So, Madam Mayor, I don't know if that would apply, but I've made note of the inquiry and I will get the address so that I can provide a specific response.
Okay. My guess, Commissioner, is that the limitations on short-term rentals would also apply to the ADU.
Okay. And then just a note here, and this is kind of wrapping up the second part of Kevin's question. This has been an issue that comes up a lot because there is the Short-Term Rental Affordability Act that I think was passed a while back, limiting the amount of time you can do Airbnb for a full property. But we're having some enforcement challenges. So even right across the street from me, we have an Airbnb that's well over the limit for the number of days. Just so far over, I've lost count of how many days over they are. And so if we could, I think, look into some of the enforcement or some changes to the language. Okay.
I can speak to that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
With respect to the short-term rentals, we are currently going through the 3rd round of rulemaking that was published on May 28th. So after the 30-day cycle, we are optimistic that we can move to final rulemaking, provide some grace period for property owners to come into compliance, and then start enforcement before the fall.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And then I do see we have a few hands raised. I'm going to pick up the last question from Mr. Bob O'Malley, which he starts out by telling us is not a question. Just a word of thanks to Commissioner Moore for making these meetings happen and to Mayor Bowser for her leadership. She is truly the best of the best, and I'm proud to be a part of the city. So thank you for that, Mr. O'Malley. Bosco, if we could move to some of the raised hands. While we're doing that, I'm going to let some of the commissioners jump in with their questions. So I did see Commissioner Rhodes' hand first. So I'll let Commissioner Rhodes kick off the commissioner questions, and then we'll move to Commissioner Hoffman.
Well, first of all, Mayor Bowser, we all here in Ivy City, everyone, the children, the adults, the seniors, the alumni, everyone is so grateful and thankful that you put the money in the budget for Cromell. It's been 40 years. Everyone knows the history. We are just thankful that you did that. It'll be open in 2024, hopefully, but we do have phase one where we have the basketball court, so we are able to step foot on the site as of Memorial Day. So on behalf of everyone in Power DC, everyone here in Ivy City, we just want to say thank you. And also that we want a small area plan for Ivy City. We want a small area plan, and we also want to be part of the planning for once Cromell open as a recreation center, we want to be part of the planning and be part of the committees. We need committees and programming for the recreation center. So we want to be part of the planning of that.
Well, thank you.
I was saying absolutely. Of course, I was muted.
Thank you.
All right, and then Commissioner Hoffman, your question.
Sure, Mayor Bowser, I just wanted to say thank you for joining us today, and also echoing Commissioner Rhodes' comments about Cromwell. We are also in Trinidad very happy to see that happening. My question is about DOES. Do you feel that the budget is properly equipping DOES with the funds necessary to modernize the UI system and all of the other DOES programs that are going to be updated through the current contracts vetting that they're doing currently? As you know, there's thousands of workers that are still dealing with delays from UI throughout the pandemic that are stemming from related issues with the ancient technology that we're using with UI currently. Do you feel the budget is adequately fixing those issues?
We have, and this goes for every one of the DC government agencies. I put forward exactly what I think they need. And I just, as an aside, I got a call from someone today whose social security number was being used in an unemployment scam. So this idea out there that DOES isn't paying claims, and it's because of they're just not getting around to it, is false. DOES in the last year has paid over $2 billion in claims. But they are claims. People call, they have to present information. That claim has to be adjudicated and paid if it is owed. And it is not all of the claims that are made are owed. And some of them have problems that have to be investigated. Certainly in the last year, I think everybody will recognize that there were a lot of changes to the UI system. They were making payments for something that, they never collected to pay for, like whole new programs, pandemic unemployment insurance, extension of benefits, not having removing the look for work requirement. All of these things changed over the course of 15 months. And those changes were made to a system that couldn't handle quick changes. So the UI system replacement has been budgeted for a number of years. You may also remember that the council made a priority the paid family leave system and its creation, which quite frankly, because it had a funding and a deadline in statute, took precedent over the UI system. Now, certainly they couldn't have known that we would have a 100-year pandemic and historic claims to the trust fund, but that's what happened. And so we are in the procurement process for the UI system now. And the director has also identified, I think, some even more interim ways to kind of deal with changes that are happening right now from the federal government on the UI system. What is also important to note about this budget is that it makes UI whole. At one point, before the pandemic, we went into the UI trust fund had $500 million, $500 million. It was very nearly depleted at the end of last year. We made preparations, in fact, to make an emergency loan from the federal treasury. And then news of the vaccine, people going back to work, employment plans going down. We ended up not having to do that to make a loan, but we have depleted our fund. So the paid family leave surplus that exists, $400 million unused, part of that surplus is going to make the unemployment insurance trust fund whole, so that we will be able to continue to pay our beneficiaries as we recover from this pandemic. Now, another thing that we have tried to do throughout, and it could always be more and it could always be better, we acknowledge that, that's to have more people take calls and answer questions, because people who have been out of work through no fault of their own, especially, want to know the status of their claim. Even if the answer is you have to wait, they want to know what the status is. So throughout, we've tried to put on more call takers, train those call takers, so when you get somebody on the phone, they have the answer to your question. So that's a long way to answer your question, but yes, the capital dollars that are needed to replace the system are in the budget. The call support, we think, is also in the budget, and the replacement of the uninsured, the trust fund dollars that we have used during the pandemic is also in the budget.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate your answer.
You bet.
All right. So next up, we have a question from Commissioner Cobb, and I believe after him, Commissioner Blacknell has a question, and then we'll move back to questions from the audience with Mr. Russell. So Commissioner Cobb, you have the floor.
All right. Thanks, Commissioner Moore, and thank you, Mayor Bowser, again for being here with us today.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. I want to focus on the budget and transportation. And I really just have one question. I am looking at the transportation and environment section right now of your proposed budget summary, and there's a lot to like in here. There's a lot that's really exciting. But I'm just wondering, why not also take that final step of fully funding the Vision Zero Act?
What does that mean?
Funding all the programs that have been established in law under the Vision Zero Omnibus Act of 2020.
Like what?
I sent a question earlier today listing it all out. I don't have it in front of me, but I looked it up, and Vision Zero is not being fully funded, and which will lead to less engineering, less education, less enforcement.
Well, Commissioner, I would be interested to know what specific things you are concerned about, because like you said, there is a lot that is funded in there. I don't know what every element of the council's proposals were, and I don't actually know what the final dollar tag on those proposals were either. I can tell you, and certainly I'll turn to Director Lott to speak about it more, about the investments in bus priority, the investments in dedicated bike, the investments in automated traffic enforcement, and the investments to cures for dangerous roadways. Also huge investments in trails, completing trails, starting new ones. So I am, of course, will try to entertain any specific questions of what you think we missed.
And Mayor, if I may just add, and thanks for the question, Commissioner. When we look at Vision Zero, and one of the things we've talked about as the agency is that Vision Zero is synonymous with safety. And as you're reflecting that Vision Zero is not fully funded, or the act is not fully funded, we look at it a little bit differently in that we put safety in every piece of implementation and every type of infrastructure we might be implementing for the district. So whether it's roadways, whether it's sidewalks, whether it's alleys, streetscapes, safety is a major component of that, and safety is always the first thing that we're looking at. And so we've made major investments to improve safety in our roadways for all users, whether they're pedestrians, whether they're vehicular users, et cetera. The mayor just mentioned and referenced bus priority, a major investment there, really trying to connect individuals and identify areas where there may have been transportation deserts to provide more reliable and affordable transportation. We've also included and increased our emphasis on the automatic traffic enforcement. You'll see a major push in this year's budget as well as in next year's budget that will allow us to increase automatic traffic enforcement with the ability for us to really change driver behavior by increasing the number of cameras or updating the number of cameras and the software, so that it really changes the behavior in terms of making drivers slow down on the roadways. Bike lanes, we have last year we had the 20 miles by 2022. The mayor's budget proposes 30 miles within the next 3 years of protected bike lanes, which we're really excited about. That also has a form and a way of really protecting our most vulnerable users on the roadway. So I believe that this budget definitely does create an atmosphere and environment for safety for all of our roadway users. Although you may not see it on the actual act, I think you'll see it in the overall investment in all of our projects.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And then let's move on to our next question, and then we'll try to wrap this up shortly. So we'll move on to our next question from the audience. I do see Miss Diggs has her hand raised. Then we'll move back to some of the Q&A questions, and then I'll have some closing comments / questions. So go ahead, Miss Diggs.
Thank you. I have one question for the mayor and one for Director McFadden. Madam Mayor, can I just ask you, or may I just say, we've greatly appreciated the fact that you've been a champion for affordable housing. But is there a possibility that the cap for affordable housing can be lowered? Because at present it's so exclusive, it becomes non-inclusive.
What did you ask could be lowered?
The cap for what one has to make to be able to apply for affordable housing.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm saying? It's so high now, it's beyond what most of us can even remotely get to.
It's high okay, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that people with higher incomes should be able to apply for affordable housing, or are you saying the opposite?
Lower incomes should be able to apply for affordable.
So thank you for that question. And so our commitment for the use of the Housing Production Trust Fund is $400 million here. And our commitment is that 50% of those funds will be invested in units for people who are 0 to 30% of the AMI. So from no income up to 30% of the AMI. I also, I will add that we have been proponents of investing in housing along the whole income spectrum, all the way up to 80% of the AMI as well, because we want to continue to have our police officers and teachers and firefighters consider living in the place where they earn their paycheck. And you can see in this pandemic, as we all also know, the number of people who work for us and serve DC neighborhoods. We want more of them to live in the city.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for all you've done during the pandemic, Mayor. You've done a great job.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, my question for Del McFadden, sir. So we appreciate all that's being done by the ONE's office, but I think initially the target was returning citizens and male population. Are you going to include at some point the female population?
Well, we looked at that in the inception of building the office, especially for the Pathways program. We do work with females in the community when it comes to violence prevention and intervention, as far as our 3 contractors. The Pathways program is open to females. However, we have yet to meet a female that meets the criteria. Now, the criteria is for the Pathways program is a gun charge, unsuccessful completion of probation, multiple arrests, or unemployed or a victim of violence. We have not been referred anyone who female-wise, anyone who meets that criteria. but we are open.
So the program could be expanded to include those who don't meet that criteria, but who meet other standards?
No, ma'am. This program is specific. This is not good. This is for, we are identifying the people who we think will be crime victims or involved in violent crimes. And it is never going to be, it is one of those programs that is not equally distributed. It won't be equally distributed among neighborhoods or wards or the sexes. It is focused on people who have been identified, who have displayed very specific behaviors.
Well, it's a great program and we fully support it in Ward 5. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to move on to a few questions and comments from the Q&A box. We are going to try to keep it on schedule, so I will limit those, and then I'll have a few remarks that I think should cover the additional questions. So from Desiree Williams, thank you for joining our meeting. You have been leading the city strong, exclamation point. Thank you. How do we protect residents from predatory investors that submit permits for new project plans that jeopardize the safety, property, and privacy of current residents, as they are hoping that DCRA will not thoroughly review permits before project plans?
I'm going to turn to Director Sharper to address that question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, committee member, for the question. With respect to protecting residents, neighborhoods from our construction activity, that is front and center of our safety efforts. When it comes to illegal construction, inspectors are available. In fact, we've expanded the number of inspectors available to address those issues. Similarly, when it comes to permitting, we are always willing to relook at a project and address neighborhood concerns. Those measures are designed to ensure that we not only protect the public, but we also protect the economic interest of those who are building those projects. So if there is a specific building or address, if you can put that in the chat, I would be sure to make sure that an inspector takes a look at it, we'll do a thorough review, and if there are any concerns, we'll properly address it.
So Ms. Williams, if you could go ahead and drop that address in the chat, and I'm already aware of exactly what address that is. And I think we do have a few more questions here directed to both of them.
Madam Chair, if I could just add, Director Sharper sent a mailing to DC residents. I received one. I hadn't seen it before I got it in the mail, but I really appreciated it because it highlighted a new program that DCRA has in place that allows residents to comment on design professionals. And I think that's really important because it gives you a place to go as somebody who might be doing work to see what our experience has been with that design professional. What is that called again, Ernest?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is called the Contractor Rating System. And what we also use that data set that Madam Mayor mentioned is that if a particular developer gets more than 5 staff work orders, we not only show that information publicly, but then it can become a basis for denying them permits. So it is part of the regulatory regime to keep people honest. And that is just one measure about how we deal with our construction projects. We also do collect insurance information for development projects so that if something goes sideways, we can use our consumer protection unit within DCRA to facilitate dealing with the harm. Each year, over the last couple of years, they've recovered more than $150,000 for residents who filed those complaints. So there are a lot of free services available at DCRA, whether it's a free inspection or if the contractor rating system tool you can use, or filing a complaint against a business for us to investigate. These are resources that we are bringing to the community thanks to the budgetary investments that we receive from Mayor Bowser.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. So we do have a few questions here, and I'll try to keep them brief. Julian Hill, A question for the mayor and Director Strappa. I noticed a lot of emphasis in the budget on employment and job training. I wanted to know if the mayor or director could speak to where there is space in the budget for the development of businesses owned by workers, worker cooperatives, that give workers more of a voice and access to profits. A few cities like NYC have been seeing worker co-ops as a key part of the economic recovery.
That's something that we can certainly look into. I don't know if we have a specific budget proposal related to it.
Okay. And then another question, which I'll try to summarize for Director Strappa. There is a significant amount of residential development in 5D, which we welcome when it is done in a manner consistent with the law and building regulations. Unfortunately, it seems that DCRA cannot keep pace with its enforcement responsibilities, and the developers know this. And then I'll skip down to the question. What more can we citizens do to help DCRA to ensure that it takes timely enforcement action when these situations arise? I'd also like to note my appreciation to Commissioner Moore for having taken steps within her power to address this particular property and others within our neighborhood. So thank you for that. And that comes from Mr. Ian Moss.
More specific to the question about steps that residents can take. Residents, step one is making us aware of the issue. We've made investments that allows residents to file complaints through 311, or even on our website. You can fill out a form and an inspector will go out. In fact, we promise a service level of no more than 3 business days to give you a response. With respect to enforcement, there are a few stages of an enforcement regime, and I would like to share that. One is fines that we issue, and when we issue those fines, they have to go through the adjudication process at our OAH, Office of Administrative Hearings. Once those cases are adjudicated, the decision is what we'll have to abide by. When you come across a situation where you are wondering what the enforcement stage is, you can go to our website. We have a tool called Scout, where you can put in the address and see the status of any fine or enforcement action. But what we've not seen is an increased demand in enforcement. We've stepped up our inspection capacity, and we've been able to leverage that capacity to address the needs of the community. So again, if there is a particular situation where you would like to see some type of enforcement action, we will start by asking for you to give us the address, submit it to us online, or you can drop in the chat and I can have one of my team members look into it and also keep you updated on all the enforcement actions that happen. But generally, when a case goes through the Office of Administrative Hearings, it takes a year. So while residents want immediate relief, we also have to follow the due process and the requirements. And that is something that sometimes it can be challenging to make residents aware. But for situations like illegal construction substantiated, we should start work order right away. There's no discussion about that. Fines take a longer process to play out.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And Mr. Moss, if you could please put that address in the chat. I know this is an address that's already been reported and it is reaching the latter stages of the adjudication process. I think the challenge for us as a neighborhood is that while that's going on, it's an eyesore. You know, it's causing, since we're all townhomes, some damage to the neighboring attached property. So we'll follow up on that. I will take one last question from the Q&A, and then I have some closing comments. Tung Nguyen, my question is with regard to Cromell development. What are the next steps for Cromell once the budget is approved, and how will the Ivy City community be able to participate in shaping Cromell? What is the plan for housing development on the site?
I'll take that question, and I'll make sure that who asked that. I'm sorry.
Tung Nguyen.
Okay, we'll make sure that we get back to the commission with any questions. I think that we have the budget in 23 or 24 or 24 spread over. Is that right? Somebody confirm for me the years. And say again.
I'm sorry, that's right, Mayor, correct.
23 or 24?
23. So the funding for the design and the development is funded in 23. So that'll allow us to start our community engagement.
Okay.
Construction will begin in 2024.
And to begin in 2024. So that's where we are with the recreation center piece. I think the interim recreation piece is already in place, and we're very happy about that. And the housing development, I think everybody knows the original proposal was to build the recreation center with housing. The housing has been, it's been kind of, I don't know, what's the word? It's been rejected, I guess, by the council. So we're gonna have to reset on housing. Right now it's recreation only, no housing.
Okay, so thank you for that. So I do have a few closing remarks. First of all, thank you, Madam Mayor, for your time this evening. I'd like to thank all of the directors who took time out of their evenings to join us as well. We are very appreciative of your attendance and your input. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our mokers. Brittany and Nokomis are out here working hard.
Thank you, guys.
I see them very often. You know, when I'm out and you're out at the same time, I like that. That's what I like to see from a moker. And then just a few quick comments on some of the community issues that we weren't able to get to. So there are some of the directors I'd very much like to follow up with for various ANC committees. Specifically, Director Trappa, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your modernization efforts at DCRA. You know, although things are not perfect, you know, I do see you taking a lot of steps to improve the management of the massive amount of data that DCRA has available and to make that accessible to residents. I'm not quite a fan of Scout just yet. I like the previous system just because it was open. You didn't have to log in. It was easy to pass those links around to folks. But I do appreciate, you know, the steps you're taking to put those things in place so that we can manage that data in a much smarter way. So I see the vision there and appreciate it. I would like to ask if you could commit to coming back to a ZDC meeting to further discuss some of the zoning and development challenges that our community is having, very specifically, because I think what I find is that, you know, although we've made citywide changes to how we are staffing in terms of inspectors, you know, when your community is the hot spot, it's overwhelming. And so I think it's been an overwhelming experience for the residents. We've established and grown our zoning and development committee to help address some of those challenges, but I think a closer partnership with DCRA would be appropriate for us as a community.
No problem at all. I'll make sure that I have someone on my team follow up with you so that we can set up a time to, you know, meet with the community and address the issues, and also use that as an opportunity to educate the community about what is matter of right, what are some of the zoning issues that you can expect, and also how to pick up on some of the issues that people may be trying to skirt the law around. So happy to indulge there. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, thank you so much for that commitment, and we will follow up. And then next on my hit list of directors, Director Hunter. We'd also like to hear the same pledge from you to return to our Zoning and Development Committee meeting because we are very excited about the opportunities at Crummell School. And I think as our population continues to grow in 5G, and we continue to see development at mega sites on the horizon, like Hechinger Mall. We do want to think about incorporating plans for that in the Ready to Play plan for additional recreation space to support the influx of new residents, especially huge influx of children and families.
Absolutely. You have that commitment. And I do have one correction. I apologize. I gave some inaccurate information. For Cromell School, the funding for the design and planning is in FY22, and then construction is FY23. Apologies, I incorrectly stated that. But to your question, to your question about the Ready to Play master plan, we're really excited about that, and that'll discuss some of our gaps in services in our communities. And absolutely, we look forward to engaging the community on that as we go deeper into those analysis.
Okay, great. And we do have actually a resolution coming your way that's on our agenda for tonight about potentially including recreation space at Heckinger Mall and some additional recreation opportunities on that Maryland M Street border with the Arboretum that we discussed earlier. So we definitely have some input for you for that plan, and we hope you'll give it a close look. And then I will go to Director McFadden next to say thank you. You know, I see you all the time. I work very closely with you. This is the second time me seeing your staff today. And so I just wanted to say, thank you for all that you're doing in our community. It's great to see you. You're very active. I just want to say publicly that, I think right now we have 4 part-time VIs through our current programming and grants from your office. And I think we're hoping to see, as many as possible in terms of VIs in the community, violence interrupters, sorry for using the acronym there, who can help some of our, at-risk individuals, navigate the systems they need to make the transition to, fully employed tax-paying citizen. Yes. That's what we want to see. Yes. So thank you for that. And then Director Lott, the final comment goes to you. I did not forget about you. And we're definitely going to follow up with you about that Maryland and M Street paving issue, as well as some of the other items that we've sent your way recently, especially regarding safety improvements on 19th Street. We want some chicanes, we want some bulb outs, we want some nice landscape things in 5D to help slow down traffic and beautify the neighborhood. So those should be on your desk, and we'll be following up. Okay. All right. So those are the last comments from me. I just want to say another thank you to everyone for your time this evening. Okay. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and with that word of thanks, move forward in our agenda. We do have Ms. LaQuavia Austin with us this evening, who's one of our grant recipients. And she has an update for us about the work that the Indivisible Art Collective has been doing. Ms. Austin, if you could go ahead and share your update.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. Can you hear me?
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
go ahead.
Awesome. Can you see my screen as well?
Yes, we can. We're waiting for this video.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to play it and then I'll speak over it and give you some updates on the proposal for programming that was approved in October. Thank you so much to the ANC and all of the commissioners who have been so wonderful in communicating with us and assisting us with, everything that we've needed to provide for the community. So we have been working with the DC Fridge Collective on a community fridge and pantry collaboration. Since the pandemic in October, we have aided in distributing over 2 tons of fresh produce to the community through weekly distributions and just the 24-hour community fridge and pantry that's accessible. We're so excited about this. The community loves it. They all shop here. We have lots of regular community members who bring their shopping bags and they plan to do their shopping. We have seedlings that we've assisted with care. We have provided pre-packed meals. We've worked with local organizations like Everybody Eats and Kaya Night Kitchen to distribute those. We've also started our art hour, our art education initiative in conjunction with the garden. So we've been doing cooking classes and gardening classes. They're virtual right now, but we do plan to work on a hybrid class for summer classes. So we'll do some virtual cooking and have the students come out to the greenhouse, which I'll show you soon, for some garden sciences. And these are classes that are all free to the community. We've been working with Serve Your City, DC, the Social Justice School, which is a new charter school in Northeast DC. And we've also been working with the Black Swan Academy on these different programs. Here are some of the distributions that we've done. We've worked with the Liberators and Total Liberation Collective to provide literature on Black joy and the Black experience, and just to educate everyone on, the social justice issues that we are facing today. All of the books are free in the form of mutual aid. Liberators and Total Liberation Collective have been wonderful partners. We've done our big launch for the spring semester was a community event called Art Hour at Night. It was an interactive event with students and parents. We had such a wonderful number of students and parents show up. It was interactive story time and an interactive art session. And our art director, in conjunction with the Liberators and Total Liberation Collective, read the story to the students. And then we provided them with the supplies, and they made puffy paint. And the story was called Layla's Happiness, and the students were to paint their happiness. And it was just such a wonderful, wonderful experience. We actually revived this with the Hillcrest Heights Elementary PTA in PG County. So this is something that we've done a few times. This here is an update on the Lewis Crow Park space that we've nicknamed Collective Farms. We have a plan for the park that I will show you in just a moment. Kind of shows what our plans are and goals. We have a greenhouse. We want to incorporate picnic tables. I'm gonna pause this for just a second. Which have already been ordered, a new grill, plant boxes. So there are 2 big plant boxes in the middle, and then the smaller boxes will be for the garden science classes. You'll see shrubs around the sidewalk and the exterior of the park. We also would like to transition our pantry and community fridge that we have at the collective site, which is on the corner of West Virginia Avenue and Mount Olivet, to the park space for accessibility. And we would like to move all of our distributions to the park as well. And we're working on establishing a farmer's market. Our goal is to partner with Dreaming Out Loud and a few other organizations on that. Our first initiative in the park space was a cleanup, and also the greenhouse. So I'll show you how that has come together. So we definitely had a community build day. It was so wonderful. People from the neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods came through and helped us establish the structure.
And if I could just interject really quickly.
Absolutely.
Turn down the volume because I think we have a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll just turn it off all the way down. So here are photos of the community helping build the greenhouse. And in this greenhouse, we definitely plan to have some of our garden science classes, our seedling program, and you'll see a little later on how that's been started. We had some students come out to the greenhouse. They're so eager to get things started. So we definitely supplied them with some seedlings and told them how to take care of them and invited them back to the park when we do our big planting day. Some more community members at work. and we have been working with the executive director at Common Good City Farm. They have been kind of mentoring us in the way of agriculture. And they also have offered to do something that they call barn raising, where the organization would gather volunteers. They would come to the Lewis Crow Park space and help us establish other infrastructure, just in the good fashion that and nature that in hopes that we would return the favor. We've been working with, we have the full support of Kate Lee, who is the head of the agriculture department at the Department of Energy, as well. Right Proper Brewing Company has been a fantastic partner. They've helped us with like transportation of supplies and soil. Rewild is a plant shop. They came out and actually decorated, they did a volunteer staff day and decorated the greenhouse. Here are some of the kids in the community who've come out and enjoyed the greenhouse. And here you can see that they have some seedlings that they've taken home to create their own little kitchen or herb gardens. And they were really excited about the guidance. They're very serious about taking care of their plants. So we plan to extend this seedling program into the summer with our Art Hour summer classes. We will be doing, we'll have basketball classes, flag football, also so garden sciences, cooking, I think guitar, we're doing guitar now, and we will be doing a musical production this summer as well. I have DC Water here because we have been working with Francesca Valenti from Bloom and Blue Drop. Bloom is the biosolid that DC Water creates. And Francesca has been so wonderful in providing us with this material. So this is the soil that we've been using. We feel like we love this relationship because of the sustainability of it all. And we're really excited about hopefully moving forward and continuing our programming in Lewis Crow Park and just throughout Ivy City, Trinidad in general, and 5D. So these are they're just more. Okay.
Well, this is great. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we funded this grant. Looking good. You know, I love to see it. So I do see we have one question or / comment in the chat from Dr. Rodney Burton. No question really. Just wanted to say thank you, Ms. LaQuavia Alston, for the great, the beautiful, and imaginative work on what you and your comrades have created. My first time meeting you, but you have examples that we can use here in Carver Terrace. So Dr. Burton, I just want to make a note here that another part of Ms. Alston's grant is to do exactly this kind of work here in Carver Langston. And I know you and I have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow to discuss where that might be. Yeah. So I'm so glad to hear you like what's going on at Lewis Crow Park, and we're definitely looking to expand that effort. So glad to know that people are so excited about that. From Tung Nguyen, is planting only allowed to be done inside the greenhouse, or can plants be grown outside?
Plants will be grown outside. So we are working on the installation of our planter boxes. I'll refer back to the outline of the park plan. So we'll have 2 big planter boxes in the center, and then I think it was like 8 to 10 around the perimeter of, where the sidewalk is. Okay. And we'll have community plant days.
Okay. And then we have 2 more questions before we have to wrap this section up and move on. Janae Queen says, how do residents get involved in the Lewis Crow Park project? This is fantastic. And so Ms. Austin, if you could leave your contact information in the chat, that would be great.
Absolutely. I'll do that right now. And you can visit us at anindivisibleartcollective.com. And there is a little section on our website that allows you to fill out a form. If you'd want to volunteer, you can DM us on Instagram or Facebook, but I will definitely put our contact information.
All right, thank you. And then Bosco, for our last question, if you could go ahead and unmute or allow Ms. Patrice Lancaster to share her question or comment.
Hello, I'm one of the administrators for the Ward 5 Mutual Aid, and I just wanted to ask you if we have you as well.
I'm sorry, you broke up there. Could you repeat your question?
I wanted to ask if we could connect with you as well as you're serving the Ward 5 community, because we could probably do more, collaboratively and not have any overlap.
Absolutely, always. So I'm going to put my information here, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
you. Right. So thank you so much for that update. That's an uplifting way to kick off the rest of the meeting.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Yes. So we're going to move forward to the consent calendar. So everyone we have a lengthy consent calendar this time around. Just a reminder for everyone how a consent calendar works. It's basically an opportunity for us to consider a large number of issues all at once so that we can keep the meeting moving. And so we do have an opportunity to read all of these items in advance as commissioners. And then if there are any items that even one commissioner wants to remove from the consent calendar, we would move that to a voting action and then consider it as an individual item. But right now we would just vote to approve all items at once and then move ahead to some of the items that need additional discussion. So with that being said, do any of the commissioners have an item that they'd like to see removed from the consent calendar for this evening's meeting? And I'll give people just a moment in case there's an item that needs to be moved to the voting actions for further discussion.
Yeah, Commissioner, just
yes.
One thing, the request for the Ivy City Small Area Plan, because I'll have to abstain from that. Plan on voting yes for everything else.
Okay. So I think that's a great note. And just, for professional reasons, Commissioner Cobb does have to abstain from certain development voting items. So we will go ahead and out of consideration for that, move this as a voting action and consider it separately.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Hearing no additional changes from the commission, I move to support all items as listed on the consent calendar. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, I heard Commissioner Elmore first. Can I get an aye from all commissioners in support?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions?
Jamal.
I'm sorry. Okay, I think we have a hot mic. If we could go ahead and mute Miss Lancaster, and then we'll redo that voice vote. All in favor of the consent calendar items as listed, can I get an aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, voting actions. Let's go ahead and consider the inclusion of ANC 5D priorities in the Ready to Play plan. So for those of you who were here earlier in the meeting, one of the comments I made to Director Hunter is that, we're very excited about Cromell School, but we're also looking for other recreation opportunities. We have on the horizon for us as a community, the redevelopment of Hechinger Mall in the Carver-Langston area, 8.5 acres or just over 8.5 acres that will more than likely have a massive impact on residential spaces. And we're already, full to the brim at Rosedale in terms of looking for opportunities for recreation in Ward 5. And it would be nice to have another pool, another recreation center that kids could visit with thousands of families, either moving to the area now or moving to the future development in the area. So I think that's a big concern for us. So any discussion from the rest of the commission on including our priorities in the Ready to Play plan? Okay, so I move to support ANC 5D's letter to DPR outlining our Ready to Play priorities, which is the 10-year, Ready to Play is what the 10-year plan, I believe, is called for DPR. Okay, so can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, I heard Commissioner Hoffman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you so much. Then the next item on our agenda is an update to our bylaws. Basically, the long story short of it is that, our bylaws were not as clear as they could have and should have been in how we're handling what our definition of a majority is. And so the way things work for us as ANCs is that, we're bound by the law first. Then we have our bylaws, and then we have Robert's Rules of Order. I think for a long time, our commission has had, a need for bylaws updates on an ongoing basis. And so we're seeing that now. And I think this will help, address things going forward so that, we make sure we maintain majority rule and are clear about when a majority is needed, when a super majority is needed on certain items. And it just sort of clarifies that. So any discussion from the rest of the commission, on that update as written in our agenda this evening? Okay, so with no discussion, I move that we support the update to the bylaws defining a majority for ANC 5D. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, I heard a second from Commissioner Blacknell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you so much, everyone. And then we have a letter on the development at 1701 H Street Northeast. So as you know, that PUD has been ongoing, for years and years now, maybe half a decade. And so we are trying to wrap up some of the cases associated with that. We do have some stipulations before supporting the current case so that we can see some improvements in affordable housing at that site. I like to see projects get to about 12% affordable housing. When this was originally reviewed, it was only just above 8%, which is what's required by law. I think it was 8.35%. So, just really scraping by the bare minimum. The developer has offered to add an additional floor, a half a floor to the building, which will match the height of the rezoned Benning Road portion of the project, and add additional affordable dwelling units. They're adding 10 units overall. Right now, their proffer is to do 2 additional affordable units on that additional floor. I'd like to see more than half of the additional units go to affordable housing. And I think that will put us right at that 12% goal for affordability at that site. And I think if we're giving you an extra floor, you can give us some extra affordable housing. I've also made a request that they give priority to current ANC 5D residents for those affordable units, so that we can help stem the tide of some of the displacement that we're seeing, especially from other nearby projects. And so I would like to see that as an opportunity, not only for affordable units, but affordable units for people who are already here in the community and need them in order to maintain the social networks that make their lives possible and comfortable. And in addition to that, we also have some other technical commentary for them on noise management and a housekeeping issue on their community benefits agreement which is that we didn't have a use agreement in place with the previous commissioner to myself in terms of making sure that we actually get to use the community room that they're required to build. With those notes, do we have any discussion from the rest of the commission on that letter?
I have just one clarifying question, Chairperson Moore. While I emphatically agree with the intention of the prioritization of current ANC 5D residents for the inclusionary zoning units, my question, I suppose, is that in line with the way that the inclusionary zoning units are allocated in the current system? Is that something that's even possible for it to be done?
Yeah, so it is. And I think that's a really good question because it depends. And as a general rule, it depends. And so what happens is that there are a lot of ways that a particular property could choose to dole out their affordable housing. They could, have DC government just take over the whole process. If they have a property manager, that property manager can use a lottery system. That property manager could use a list. And so in discussions with the property manager, which will be Grow Up Properties, we have addressed that idea. They haven't settled on a lottery or a list just yet, but we are asking that, once they do decide how they're going to move forward, that they find a way to try and prioritize the avoiding the displacement of current residents.
Excellent. I'm glad that's possible.
Yeah. Okay. So any other discussion from the commission? Okay. So with that said, I move to support the stipulated support for the zoning case 15-31B at 1701 H Street Northeast. Can I get a second?
Second.
Commissioner Elmore has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
All right, thank you for that. And then we have one addition to the Zoning and Development Committee, Patrice Lancaster for 5D02. Commissioner Saucedo Guzman isn't here this evening, but he wholeheartedly supports this addition as we previously discussed. Any discussion from the commission on this agenda item? Okay, so I move to support the addition of Ms. Patrice Lancaster to the Zoning and Development Committee. All in favor? I'm sorry, can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, second from Commissioner Hoffman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you so much. And then from Commissioner Cobb, we do have an ABRA protest for Stanton Liquor. So Commissioner Cobb, if you could describe your request of the commission.
Sure. Stanton Liquor is part of that row on Bladensburg with other liquor stores, the burned out church. I know someone else has mentioned that in the chat during this meeting tonight. And this just gives us an opportunity to speak with them about their settlement agreement, come to the table and reach an agreement that works for everyone.
Okay. All right, any questions or discussion for Commissioner Cobb on the letter notifying ABRA of our Stanton Liquor protest? Okay, and then do we have anyone from Stanton Liquor here who would like to comment or respond to what Commissioner Cobb has had to say? If you could please use the raise hand feature to let us know you're in the audience. I do know Commissioner Cobb served them with notice of tonight's meeting as is required by ABRA before launching a protest. So I do know that they were notified and had the opportunity to attend if they so chose. But I don't see any raised hands. Okay, so with no response or rebuttal from Stanton Liquors, I'd like to turn the floor back over to Commissioner Cobb.
Okay, I move that we pass the letter protesting Stanton Liquors license. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all opposed? Or sorry, All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you so much. Okay, and so that's the last item we have from a commissioner. Next up, we have 2 grant funding requests that are very exciting opportunities to do some positive things in the community over the summer. We have first up on the list, Scott Borger from Breadcoin, who'd like to share with us an opportunity to help feed some neighbors in the community. And Mr. Borger, if you have a presentation to share, just let us know and we'll make it possible for you to share your screen.
I don't have a presentation, I'll just do it verbally.
Okay, okay, great, go ahead.
Thank you. So my name is Scott Borger. I'm the president of Breadcoin Foundation. For those that don't know, Breadcoin is a community food token that started in DC about 5 years ago. It started in the Union Station area with a workforce development program of the Central Union Mission. So the food token, each one is worth $2.20 and is able to be used at local food vendors to be able to provide food for those that are in need with the dignity of choice. And so we are continue to grow and to expand across DC and into Maryland and into Baltimore, and are able to use this food token to be able to connect the community together. So the Langston, Trinidad, Ivy City neighborhood is one of the most vibrant neighborhoods for Breadcoin and is actually piloting many of our innovations in the community. We've been working with local partners here, with churches, with community groups, with our local vendors here in this neighborhood, with the MPD's community outreach team to be able to distribute the coins to those that are in need in relationship. And we like to be able to do those in relationship. One of the programs, so basically how Breadcoin works is that the food token is taken and people are able to go to our participating restaurants. So the participating restaurants in these neighborhoods are Texas Chicken and Burger on Mount Olivet Road. There's in the Langston area, there's Royal Rooster and Wings and More Wings and Langston Grill, Bar and Grill. And then Ravenhook Bakery is also they don't have a retail location, but they are located in these neighborhoods. And those are 5 of our vendors that are taking Breadcoins and able to redeem them for food for those that are in need. So this can include a variety of different ways of which the Breadcoins get distributed. So Breadcoins can get used for community events. So one of our partners, City Center Public Charter School, the Trinidad campus, actually used Breadcoins for a community event. And what we found with our partners is that when you bring food to an event, it connects the community together and people are more likely to attend, and that's positive for everybody. So they actually hosted a kind of festival for their parents and the students and the teachers to come together. And they had 4 food trucks that were in their parking lot that they were able to set up kind of and use Breadcoins to be able to redeem. And everybody had a choice of what they wanted to do. It was a fun event. It was a great day. And it was just an opportunity to use food to connect the community together. And that's what Breadcoin's about. So we're trying to connect community together through the local partners in the community with the businesses, with the other groups that might be not necessarily related to food, but if by connecting them to those partners that have needs, it's really exciting. So I forgot to say that KIT DC campus also is one of our partners. And one of the ways that they were innovating while they were in person was they were innovating to use Breadcoins as an incentive for students to be able to reward on-time behavior, to be able to reward scholastic achievements. And we were really excited about these possibilities of how they get distributed in the community. One of the innovations that we're doing this summer is to begin to do what we call table events or flash tables, where we will set a beautifully set table and bring the community together to make sure that everybody's included around the common table in our communities, and to be able to feed people and have that opportunity to engage and connect the community together. We did a pilot one of these Thank you, Commissioner Moore, for coming to our event. It was so fun to see everybody there connecting in the community and to be able to see kind of the joy of just being able to come around one of our vendors that was providing the food, around our community partners that were able to come to a central location and to be able to just feed the community there on Mount Olivet Road. And so we are really excited to be able to do these events across these neighborhoods over the course of the summer and just to be able to bring the community together. We believe that 5D is one of our most vibrant communities across the district, across the DMV, and we think it's going to be an archetype for neighborhoods across this country as Breadpoint expands. And so we're really excited about these neighborhoods and what the potential is of connecting the community together through food.
Okay, all right, well, thank you so much for that. And if you could just tell us what your specific request is, the dollar amount, and you know, we heard a lot about what you plan to do already. So if you just remind us of the dollar amount.
So we're going to do 3 events over the course of the next 3 months. Each one the request is for $3,000. That will purchase $1,000 for each event, which is 400 Breadcoins. So they're $2.50 per Breadcoin. What that goes for? So $2.20 goes to just redeem the coin. It works like a gift certificate. 30 cents goes to the nonprofit to kind of run what we're doing. And so of that $1,000 for each of those events, basically something, I don't have the math here in front of me, but most of it goes to the food. And that's what our priority is always in the community is to making sure that much of the funds that we're using, we're mostly a volunteer organization. We're trying to get the funds to being able to feed people. And we think that connecting our vendors to be able to encourage our vendors to do that is really exciting. So basically it's $3,000 request to purchase 1,200 coins. 400 coins would go to be able to purchase meals related to each of these community events across the neighborhoods.
All right, so I'd like to offer some discussion before we vote on funding this grant. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much to Scott and, you know, Carrie, you've been quiet, but I do, chat with you back and forth via email a lot about your activities for the work that you guys have already been doing in the community. It's much appreciated. I'd just like to share that, I think this grant is helpful in a lot of different ways. I think food definitely helps bring people together, and does help establish a sense of community. And I love the idea of these community tables, really seeing as an opportunity to bring people together, especially after everything we've been through over the past, year and a half. I think being able to reestablish some sense of community is important. And I think it does help bring, dignity, to a lot of people as they're able to have more options to participate in the community. And I like the fact that we're focused on small businesses in our area. So that's my comment on the grant application. Any other questions, comments, or discussion from the rest of the commission? Okay, just for the purposes of our meeting minutes, we did lose Commissioner Blacknell, but we do still have a quorum. So we are able to move forward with a vote on the application. So I move that we support $3,000 in funding for Breadcoin as they've outlined in their application. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Rose has seconded that motion. Can we take a quick vote here? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Then you have our unanimous support, and we look forward to seeing those activities in our area.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're excited.
Great, thank you. So next up on the agenda, we have Thelma Duran from the Community Family Church and the Patsy Hartsfield Center to discuss a proposed grant for community landscaping and workforce development. Just before we turn things over to Ms. Duran to talk about what she'd like to do in the area and make her request for funding, I do see a question from Catherine Willis. And so we will get you in touch with Scott and Carrie about how, how they are onboarding new vendors for Breadcoin in the community. So Scott and Carrie, if you could share your contact information in the chat so that Ms. Willis can get in contact with you, I'd appreciate it. Okay, all right, Ms. Duran, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. My name is Thelma Duran. I've been in the Carver-Langston area for at least 40 plus years. So I am very excited about us doing an entrepreneur. We have been doing the feeding sites at our building. We've been doing lunch for the children. We've been doing nothing but fresh foods to get them out. So now that we got where we see that Carver has changed into so many different cultures and everything, we are now starting to think about, well, what about why they're out? What are they going to do? So now we have to get their mindset ready for job training, because if we're going to make our communities safer and better, those at-risk youth that are out there with nothing to do now need training. And we start in-house. And what we'll be doing with our grant is we would like to go to all the different communities. I tried to go out and meet some of the ANC commissioners. I did go down to the Lewis Crow Park. They're doing a wonderful job inside. And we want to partner with them to do the perimeter. That means the bushes, the trees, we've gone out, we look by the trolley, it just looks bland. I've gone to the different owners and businesses out there. And what we need to do is to bring a fresh new look to our community. We need to, when people walk out the door, they have a sense of pride of seeing that they are actually participants in it. And because they'll take ownership, then that will make it last. With this grant, what we'll do is get the supplies that we need, and we'll actually do the upkeep. Meaning, when you see us out there, you're not going to see just one people. You're going to see the ones that are actually be working with us, and you'll see the volunteers and the youth. We'll be there, and we'll be there for the long haul, because it's something that's needed in order for our younger children to see that they can grow up and do bigger and better things. We got to start with those parents that are younger, but have 3 and 4 children. Our community now has a lot of youth that have come from the different shelters. Our property is a tax credit property, and we're trying to do everything we can to house them, but we got to give them a vision. And that vision is you can do great things, and we're going to give you the skills. So with our grant, we'll be bringing some youth on and doing actual training with a professional person that'll show them the actual in and out, so that it just doesn't stop there. We'll encourage them for entrepreneurship to move forward and do greater things. I've been working with Commissioner Moore, Bernice Blacknail, Miss Juanita Diggs. She's been there forever. I even worked with her mother. And she came and did our after school program. So now with everything starting to open, even though we got a lot of children still at home, they're getting now to come out onto the plaza and actually have lunch. They're getting to interact again, even though our area has been kind of going through shooting and different things. It's been very, very hard. But in the midst of all that, we got to keep them encouraged and let them know that once this thing lifts, we shall do greater things. So in order to do that, I am so grateful that, you know, the commissioners have been doing their best and sending people our way to save us so that we can move forward. We see all the other things that's coming, and we want to be a part of it. We want those youth to go forward and be able to apply for some of those jobs that they may not have been able to get, or to even start their little businesses and try to partner with the bigger businesses. So I just feel like this is a vision I've had for many years. We've come at it backwards and forwards, but we haven't given up. I am so grateful that Carver and Langston will possibly have that opportunity to now do job training while we have everybody excited about doing something in their neighborhood. With our grant, we'll also be doing the maintenance. So it won't be like we'll just put a bush in place and then leave that bush to handle itself. We'll be coming back periodically. We'll be watering them. We'll be pruning them. We've already reached out to other ways of getting out water and mulch, and you know, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to everybody seeing us out working in the neighborhood. And my information will definitely be out so that we can all move forward. The way that I've been able to manage the community center and do things has been through partnership. So I know how it's done. And I'm always willing to work with any and everybody, because I know when we work together, great things will come out of it. So I'm really excited, and I'm looking forward to getting our program off the ground with entrepreneurship. And it won't stop there, because I've already been talking about billing and coding, financial literacy, entrepreneur. My husband and I had 2 stores in the community. We need to get those things back in place. And neither one of us went to school for that. But the thing is, once we were exposed to it and we had a dream, we were able to work towards something. We have a lot of guys that's standing around in our neighborhood. I go right up in there and I say, son, what is it that you would like to do? And that's where some of my ideas came from. You know, washing cars. Okay, well, let's see, can we get you a power washer? Let's do something. Let's do a fundraiser. And with that, it's just been taking off and I tell you, I'm so excited. So I'm praying and trusting and believing that we getting ready to do greater things. And I'm at Carver Terrace in the Patsy Hartfield Community Center. I did work with Miss Patsy. Miss Burton knows me. And, you know, I worked at Gallaudet. I'm one of those that was affected by the pandemic, didn't, you know, get to go back to work. But, you know, I'm still standing strong. And I'm still, you know, working with everybody, you know, to get things back on track so that we can pick up and move forward. And now
I love it. Well,
now's the time.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you so much for your passion around this grant application and this proposal. One thing I just want to make sure is clear to folks is that, you know, what's being requested here is funding for, you know, salary, uniforms, equipment, and plants to do not only just a workforce development piece of the project, but some community beautification. So the folks who are participating in this program who are, you know, maybe in need of some guidance and some direction, who are standing around in our neighborhoods, you know, will give them that opportunity for some self-improvement and some development, but it will also give them an opportunity to contribute to the improvement of our community. And I think that by having more people more invested in the community, it means that those investments are more sustainable. And so we do want to see the community beautification, and we do want to see more people feeling like they can take ownership. So I appreciate that. And then just to clarify, the total amount of funding being requested, including all of the items, is a total of $20,000 from the ANC. And so with that said, I'll turn it over to the commissioners. I do see Commissioner Cobb, you have your hand raised to see if we have any further discussion or comments, and then we'll move to the floor if we have any questions from folks in the audience.
All right. Thanks. First of all, I love this project. I think this is a great project. As the treasurer, I just got to ask a couple quick questions just to make sure that we have all the boxes checked. First off, is a family community fellowship, is that a 501c3?
Yes, it is. It doesn't have a budget or anything right now, but it's just been a small organization, and we've been trying to get back up and going. But in return, what the person in charge actually has a landscaping business. And what they'll be doing is lending people to come in and actually get them to understand different things. So that's the reason why we don't have a budget, but we are working on our 501.
All right.
And what you're saying is not a budget for this project, because there's one included in the documents that we have, but you mean for for this year for that 501c3 overall.
Right. That's what I mean.
Great, great. And second question, will this landscaping, is it going to focus on our 5D community?
Yes, it will be. Like, we went look on Benning Road, we did down by Langston, we did Raum by West Virginia Avenue. We want to target places that maybe are closed and the grass had just grown up, and we need that cleared so that our neighborhood will become beautiful again. You know, where people are now standing around, if we hit those spots, what'll happen is it'll make them like take more pride if they're participants. So that means they'll be like, man, you're going to have to stop standing on my flowers. And what happens is that it gives them ownership, and it'll run away some of the other stuff that we don't need in our community.
All right. Those are all the questions I have. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So, any other comments, questions from the rest of the commission? Commissioner Rhodes?
Hey, Ms. Thelma, I enjoy your presentation, and everything you said is right on point. If you can come over and bring some of those guys over here to Cromell and Ivy City,
yes,
we would love to have you. This is a DC thing. You know, we want to do right and take care of our communities and take care of DC.
Yes.
Take care of these guys that need some extra, some extra. So if, you know, we would love to have you over here in Ivy City to check you out and see what you do.
Yes, I came by and met with some of your staff. I actually got to see your greenhouse. I actually told them we could show them how to install the boxes properly with the correct soil and drainage. We told them that that fence, see, if y'all got it going on the inside, we got to have the trees with all those weeds down the bottom removed so that y'all can really get that pop of shine.
Well,
so
Ms.
yeah.
Thelma, that's Ms. Thelma. That's an Indivisible art collective. I'm not with that organization, but she's
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're in that area, correct?
Yes, I am.
We would love to connect, Ms. Thelma. We would love to connect. So I may reach out to Commissioner Moore for your information, if that's
Please
okay.
do.
Okay.
Please do. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. And then our last question or comment from the commission, we have Commissioner Hoffman, and then we'll move to the audience.
Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Thelma, thank you so much for, I think it's been all in the chat. Your presentation and your energy is fantastic, and I love it. One's a question, one's a comment. First question, are we going to, let's say this goes really well, are we going to hear from you in the future for other grants that achieving similar outcomes or something else or in different ways? I'd love to hear about that in the future. And then also, if you're framing this as a workforce development, I would definitely encourage you to talk with DOES about some of the other programs that they have there, because I think this might be smaller than it could be, and the impact could be magnified and greater in ways that maybe the ANC can't help you, but maybe some other district departments may be able to. So I just want to offer that for you. But that's all I had.
Yeah, in response to that, yes, because when we started thinking about safety, and in our grant, we actually put in there the safety part of the cones and stuff like that. So we have reached out to them to try to work together so that while we're doing the training and everything, we'll be safe. We've also been trying to, just keep things moving in a positive way. And you will hear from me again, because I told you, I'm ready to do a lot of our ladies. We need to get back to maintaining the apartments once they get them. We need to do that financial literacy. We need to do entrepreneurship. I got somebody ready to do CDL training. We want to do billing and code. Now I'm telling you, it's money in that. So, you'll see me again. You'll see me again. I look forward to meeting you.
Yes. All right. So we'll move to the audience. And Bosco, if you could unmute Ms. Diggs so that she can share her question or comment, and then we'll go ahead and take a vote. Ms. Diggs, you have the floor.
Good evening again. So, hi, Mrs. Duran. How are you? This is Juanita Diggs of the Licensed Civic Association. I just want to say I have had nothing but joy working with Thelma Duran. She has a wonderful vision for our community. She has served this community for many years, she and her husband both. And I just totally and completely support her and look forward to working on these new ideas that she has. They can only turn out to be positive things because everything else she's ever done has been positive. Thank you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, on that note, I think we just want to thank you, for having such a strong track record in the community. And, I think we're all excited. So on that note, I move to support the grant application as submitted by Ms. Thelma Duran on behalf of Community Family Fellowship. If I could get a second, please.
So I actually have a point of order. Really.
Okay, yes.
Josh Kramer in the Q&A actually brings up a great point. I think some of the items listed in the grant proposal are technically going to be illegal to operate, specifically the gas-powered leaf blowers.
Okay.
So maybe a motion to adopt or support this with the intention to remove that in the future or find alternatives to gas-powered leaf blowers would be appropriate.
Okay. Well, I think that's fine.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I do see that gas backpack. Okay, so I think that's fine because let's stay in accordance with DC law. And if that's going to be the change next year, then I'm sure we can find a green alternative.
Yes, we can. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think with that friendly amendment from Commissioner Hoffman from Josh Kramer via Commissioner Hoffman, it's a great suggestion. I move to support the grant application as written with that small change. Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, unanimously supported. Thank you so much, Ms. Duran. We appreciate your time and your energy. Yeah, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future about how this works out.
You will.
Yes,
I
want to see the before and after pictures. That's my main thing. And then just one addition before we move on to our next agenda item. Patrice Lancaster has a comment here, which is that the ONE's office also has $5,000 mini grants that they released on Monday. So that might be something else to look into as you continue to do that type of work.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move forward in our agenda to our closing items. And we are just a little bit ahead of schedule. So community feedback and questions, this is your time as community members that you can ask questions, make comments, bring up topics that are important to you. They don't necessarily have to be related to any of the items on our agenda. but any issues that you need to make us aware of. Before we move those items, and while you have a chance to think, I do see Commissioner Cobb has his hand raised. Just a reminder for folks, if you could please put questions in the Q&A and use the raise hand feature if you'd like to speak. Go ahead, Commissioner Cobb, you have the floor.
I believe we had moved the Ivy City small area plan from the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that reminder. So this gives you some more time to think, folks out there, if you have any community comments or concerns. So we do have that request for an Ivy City small area plan. No shade to Ivy City that I overlooked that move on the agenda. We definitely want the small area plan. So Commissioner Rhodes, I turn the floor over to you if you'd like to describe what you're requesting, and then we'll open the floor for comments and questions from the rest of the commission.
Well, we're requesting a small area plan. The community wants to be involved in any and all planning that's going on here in Ivy City. That's including any housing, the recreation, the Cromell site, and developers that want to come in, that we want to be part of the planning of those projects. So anything that goes on in Ivy City, the community want a seat at the table.
Yeah, no, okay. So that makes sense. And just a little bit of background for folks as discussion before we vote. A small area plan is put together by the DC Office of Planning to offer communities the opportunity to make exactly the kind of suggestions that Commissioner Rhodes has discussed. Most of the areas in 5D are included in a small area plan already. But for whatever reason, Ivy City has been overlooked. And so Commissioner Rhodes is looking to right that wrong. Whatever you might think, and I have some opinions which I have shared with the Office of Planning about some of the small area plans and needed updates. But whatever you might think of the current plans, at least we have them for the other areas. And Ivy City would just like to get started on that process. So with that said, do we have any additional comments or questions from the rest of the commission? Okay, not seeing any requests for discussion from the commission. I do see a raised hand in the audience. Bosco, if you could go ahead and unmute Julian Hill. And then whenever you're ready.
Hey, y'all, just a quick comment. So, and I mentioned this to the panelists, but I wanted to offer that for small businesses and or nonprofits here in the neighborhood or that folks know about that need like legal support. I'm one of the fellows over at the Law Center at Georgetown, and we're looking for folks to submit applications for by July 1st. And so I'm happy to leave my email in case people need help with like contracts or licensing, research, or forming their legal entity. We do that for free, and we're taking applications through July 1st. So I'll leave my information in the chat if that's helpful.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. And if you could drop that in the chat, I think that's probably best for the community feedback and questions section. So we're gonna move back to the Ivy City Small Area Plan question. Any questions or comments from the audience on the Ivy City Small Area Plan? Okay, all right. So with that said, Commissioner Rhodes, no problem, Mr. Hill. Commissioner Rhodes, if you'll go ahead and make a motion for us to vote on.
I motion that we accept Ivy City as having a small area plan.
That's it. I like it. I second that motion.
Thank you for seconding the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay. All right. So one abstention from Commissioner Cobb for professional reasons, as we know. And the ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move to the community feedback and questions portion of the meeting. So if you have announcements to share with your neighbors, you have questions or comments about a topic that even if it's something we didn't discuss, but you just want to bring it up because now is your time. If you'll use the Q&A feature to submit your question or comment, or if you'll use the raise hand feature to let us know that you'd like to speak, we'll go ahead and hear from you now. And I'll go ahead and take a look at this. So I do see some Q&A items from Ian Moss. What steps do we need to take, perhaps in coordination with 70, to petition/request that the district construct a dog park either on or near Langston Golf Course or there in the unused parking lot at RFK along Benning Road? So I think that that is a great item for consideration because we do have a lot of folks in the area who have dogs, and I'd rather see people taking their dogs to an appropriate place and collecting any leavings from the dog in an appropriate place. And so one of the items that we voted on earlier in the meeting was an agenda for a suggestion for the Ready to Play plan, which is the 10-year planning document for DPR. And one of the requests there is that they help us find a location for a dog park. I think we had made some suggestions of them potentially looking into that Maryland and M location. But I think the suggestions that you've made here are worth looking into. I don't know that I think that anything at the Langston Golf Course would be feasible, just due to, the fact that it's historic. And I think some of the nearby areas would have, some size constraints. But we can certainly ask that they look into that, especially, in that RFK area. So that's a great suggestion, and we'll definitely look into that as part of the Ready to Play planning. So I see an additional item here from Jean Gross Bethel. Happy June, everyone. My name is Jean Gross Bethel. I'm with the Office of the People's Counsel. OPC is a consumer advocate for utility rate payers in DC. If anyone has any utility issues, please reach out to OPC at 202-727-3071 or info@opc-dc.gov. You can always reach me directly at jbethel@opc-dc.gov. Here are a few updates from our office. OPC's response to the appalling and hurtful PSC order on people's rate increase. And then you've got some links here and then some other links to articles. I would just ask if you could please drop those in the chat for everyone because I won't be able to read them all out here. But if you put them in the chat, everyone on the Zoom will be able to see them and have access to those links that you've included. Okay, Patrick Molatoris for comments, wanted to thank Commissioner Elmore and others for all of the work that it took to highlight the vehicle dangers at L and 17. We saw in the news that there will be a speed camera soon, if not already, and we hope it will help everyone stay safe. Woohoo! Exclamation point. All right, I like the enthusiasm there. And then I'll turn it over to Commissioner Elmore to give us a brief update on the speed camera.
So I got the same notation via Fox 5 and Kelly Jean Olsen, if she's still on the call. She sent me a personal note just letting me know my hard work and efforts did not go in vain and that the cameras, they were actually supposed to be installed yesterday. I wasn't home attending some personal matters, and I've been in the house all day. I haven't had a chance to walk around there, but they were to be installed yesterday. If they weren't installed yesterday, I know that they'll be done by the end of the week. So if we can be patient at 3 more days, we'll get our camera on 17th Street. But I did get personal notes from DDOT saying that, our camera was being installed this week.
Okay, thank you for that. I do see we have one additional item in the Q&A from Tung Nguyen. I think we should make forceful requests for a pool in 5D and investment in public transit options toward downtown on West Virginia/New York Avenue. It is hot and we hear you. So I appreciate that suggestion from you. And that is definitely, as I shared earlier in the meeting. part of what we're looking into when we're doing our long-term planning with DPR about what are our community priorities for 5D is that, you know, we do want some additional recreation, and a pool would be very, very nice. You know, it was hot today. All right, so thank you so much for that. And I don't see anything else. So we'll go ahead down the line with commissioner reports, starting with 5D01. Commissioner Rhodes, if you have anything to share with us in terms of community updates.
Well, just again, we're very excited on the phase 1 at Cromell. We have the basketball. We have 2 full basketball courts and the 4 square and hopscotch. And so anyone is able to come in there. It closes at 9. DPR is responsible for that site. We are working on getting cameras and trash cans, and also we're waiting on DDOT to do their review. So once the permit is approved, they'll start on phase 2. Phase 2 will be the entrance at Gallaudet. We don't have an entrance at Gallaudet right now, so the children have to walk all the way around the block to Oakey Street to enter at Oakey Street. Everyone has to enter at Oakey Street, which is dangerous because I did send an application to DDOT for some kind of traffic calming things like stop signs and speed humps, but they have to do their some kind of review, a traffic review. And I'm waiting on that, but that needs to happen ASAP. If somebody with DDOT is still on here, I wanted to talk about that earlier. We do need the speed humps on Gallaudet painted, which I sent a message to Kelly about that. And also, I want to thank LaQuavia. Yes, the park has the greenhouse. That's nice. And I'm not sure if everyone have noticed that the fence at Lewis Crow Park has been fixed. Also, everything is just looking positive in Ivy City now with Cromell, and it will be finished in 2023, but I will keep talking about it until it's finished.
Well, we like the tenacity. I do see a question in the Q&A from Tung Nguyen, and it might be that you follow up with the commissioner after the meeting, or she follows up with you. But will the fence around Cromell be removed as part of the interim park plan?
Yes, it will. It will. They will put another fencing around Cromell. That deep, thick wood fence is coming down.
All right, thanks for that. So 5D02, Commissioner Sauceda Guzman is not able to join us this evening, due to a personal health issue, and we wish him the best, and we hope he gets well soon. 5D03, Commissioner Elmore.
I heard about the south entrance at Arboretum. Just so you guys know, I actually was working on that today with Brent Cisco from DPR. I did find out that the green space at 19th and L and 21st and M and Maryland and M down at the end of the block by the south side of the Arboretum, they're both private owned properties, but Mr. Cisco is working to find out who owns these properties because they're two open green space. So for all the constituents that are on the line, this is being worked as promised, that we would try to turn these green space into maybe dog park, kids park, some kind of recreation center in hopes of the additional recreational play we have coming forth. But this is just something that we can have in the interim. So I am diligently working on it, like I said, and I'm just waiting on DPR to get back with me to find out who these property owners are and are they willing to transform these green spaces into, because they haven't been used in years, just transfer them into something that's useful to the community. And that's all I have.
Thank you for that. And then 5D04, Commissioner Black now had to log off. She's got to be work on nurses' hours. So, you know, we do have to miss her from time to time. 5DO5, I'm the commissioner who represents 5DO5. Just to note that Langston Civic Association will be having a meeting on June 28th, and the Carver-Langston commissioners plan to attend to discuss some of the upcoming community items for the summertime. And I know that they'll have additional reports from MPD and other people. So this will be our opportunity to have a community level meeting as we head into the summertime and the summer recess for ANC 5D. You'll still be hearing from me all summer. There will be emails and text messages going out to you to let you know about some of the community activities that we have planned, including some of the ones we funded at tonight's meeting. And you'll also hear from me on issues like rat abatement and some of the DPW challenges that we've been facing. So I have been riding DPW hard lately. And I'm not ashamed. And so, you know, we did have them out in full force starting yesterday with additional street teams to do alley cleanings, to remove abandoned vehicles, even to cut back some of the overgrowth in the alleys, because we need every single agency to be doing their part to keep our community clean. And we want to see a multi-agency response to the uptick in rats that we're seeing. And I think in large part due to the boom in construction in our community. And so we've got DPW out here with the task force. We have the Department of Health out here with the task force. We have DCRA out here with the task force. And we're also taking steps to identify nuisance properties and have the Office of the Attorney General to act on issues at those nuisance properties as well. So you'll begin to see increased enforcement around some parking, ahead of street sweeping, and some other issues. I think, you know, I went to DPW's hearing and gave testimony, and I think we have their attention as a community at this point, and they'll be moving forward, I think, with some better work to better serve us. So that's all from me. 5DO6, Commissioner Hoffman. Oh, I'm sorry. Just before we go to you, Commissioner Hoffman, I do see we had some questions pop up in the chat here. And just before we move on, I'll just answer those very quickly. Just a comment on in support of pools in general from Kevin Horgan. And then Josh Kramer asked if there are going to be July and August ANC meetings. We do not have July and August ANC meetings on ANC 5D's calendar, unless those meetings are emergency meetings, and then we will offer 7 days notice if we have need of an emergency meeting, but we will not meet again until September. Okay, Commissioner Hoffman, go ahead. You have the floor.
Sure. Couple of things, couple updates from everybody. My Moore Street friends, the installation for the Moore Street, Montello Avenue traffic calming is happening very soon. We're already seeing some of the minor sign changes. You might have noticed it. I'm already hearing from people about that, so that's great. West Virginia Avenue people, we are seeing the bike lanes are on track. They're actually a little bit ahead of schedule on the northern end over in 5D01. That's great. The Orange Street people, I'm doing a walkthrough with C. Sosa and MPD at Orin and Neal on Friday. This is not a community walkthrough. This is not that if you're out there, you can say hello, but like we're talking about a couple things that need to get happening that are not yet into the public sphere because there's some crime related things that I'm being told need to be investigated through some things in MPD I didn't know existed yet. So I'm really interested to hear what everyone's talking about with that, and I will make sure to relay anything important to that to everybody as I know it. The stop sign, always stop sign, that's no longer an always stop sign for some reason at Oates and Staples. I had Director Lott directly respond to me today about fixing that. So hopefully that'll be fixed very, very soon. The zoning meeting this week, no, not this week, next Thursday is probably going to be interesting. I've heard directly from Kevin this evening. If you are in 5D02 and you live on Sim Street, specifically if you're an abutting property owner or resident at 1219 Sims, this may be a meeting you want to attend and participate in. Kevin is dropping the links to the meeting for next Thursday. It's always the week after, or it's the third Thursday of the month. We're talking about some projects that I think are going to get everybody a little bit more amped up, because, you know, we can't exist without interesting zoning cases. And after one wraps up, we got to go right into the next one. So talk to Commissioner Salvador Saucedo Guzman if you live in 5D02 and you are interested in that case, or you can reach out to me as well at 5D06@anc.dc.gov. But I'm hearing that this one is going to be a little bit contentious. So I just want to give everybody fair notice and attend if you live there, or even if you don't, if you're just interested, come and attend that meeting. It's open to everybody. And we look forward to having you and talking about, you know, fun zoning stuff.
Fun zoning stuff. I like it. So 5D07, and then we'll come back to you, Commissioner Rhodes, after we hear from Commissioner Cobb.
Just one thing, I am in the process of standing up the Transportation Committee. So if you're on that committee, be on the lookout for an email from me.
Great. All right. And then Commissioner Rhodes.
I'm sorry. I just wanted everyone to know that the men's shelter on New York Avenue is a cooling center. So if you see any unhoused men in your communities, please direct them to the shelter to get them out of the heat. And they will be taken, they are due intake for them. As far as the women goes, if you see unhoused women, please call the shelter hotline for them, because there's no women's shelter around in this area. Also, I want to say that Brittany and the Comas are excellent. Y'all are cool. Y'all are great.
I like that, getting it on the record. Thank you so much for that. Just before we adjourn, I do want to make a note. I already mentioned this earlier, you know, to Josh Kramer's question, but ANC 5D will be on summer recess as of tomorrow morning, but we will still be working. You know, we're still out here. We're still reviewing things. We're still doing projects. We just won't be having these public meetings over July and August to give everyone a break. And then, you know, just understand that most DC government boards that we make reports to are on recess as well. So there's no point in voting on items that won't come up until the fall anyway. But if that changes, if they have any emergency items that we need to hear, you know, we will give you 7 days notice via our normal channels so that you're aware of any action items, and we'll stay timely on any obligations to the community. So we will have our next meeting, you know, on September 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m., notwithstanding any emergencies. So with that, I want to thank everyone for their time and energies, and hope that you have a not too hot summer. So thanks, everyone. With that said, I move to adjourn tonight's meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.